All right, we're live. Hey, everybody, Stephen Farrell here, Northern Utah Jobs. I want to talk. I want to take a different course today, not necessarily talk about openings in Northern Utah, but I want to talk about how do you stand out on the job. Think about it. Think about your coworkers. Think about your boss. Think about people you've worked with in the past, and how have they stood out, like good, bad, indifferent, like think of the annoying person that you work with every day that just has to say something about everything, no matter what. They just have to put their input into everything, right? Or the person that just is super quiet and reserved and just never talks, and it's just really hard to get anything out of that person. You wonder if there's anybody home, right? And then you have some people that are just, when they talk, they're angry. There's always so much emotion wrapped up into what they say. They're just always upset for some reason. Like, these are different ways that people communicate, and for good or bad or indifferent, this is how they stand out on the job. And so I want to ask you, how do you stand out on the job? What do your coworkers think about you? What does your boss think about you? If someone is to ask your coworkers that you work with day to day, hey, what's it like working for Steven? What's his communication style? Are they going to say, wow, Steven's just so professional. He's alert. He's engaged. He's always just digging in and asking lots of questions. Or are they going to go, Steven, that guy, I can't stand working with him. Those are good things to think about. And when you are thinking about ways to improve your career, be a better contributor to your job, the company you work for, when you're thinking about ways to grow your income, grow your career, a lot of people are looking for ways to grow their career right now, and they don't know how to stand out on the job. And I have to say that if you're looking to get promoted, you need to learn how to stand out in a good way. And I'm going to share some tips with you today that have worked for me personally throughout my career. I started out at the bottom of the food chain, right? And I've worked my way up into senior leadership and management positions. And there's a lot of years and a lot of mistakes made through that process. And I'm still not perfect, but there's one thing that I have learned, and that is how to stand out on the job, and how you can stand out in a very bad way and how you can stand out in a really good way. And so the first attribute that I'm just going to list out attributes above of things that you can aspire to, that you can work on. The great thing about leadership, like, people think some people are just born a natural leader. That's just simply not true. Nobody's born a natural leader. Leadership is a set of skills that you can learn. And so these attributes that I'm about to list on how to stand out on the job, these are skill sets that can be learned. They're not going to come natural for a lot of people. These are learned behaviors. These are learned skill sets. And that's the good news. You can learn them too. So how do you stand out on the job? Well, number one is communication. Just like I started out with this video talking about, the annoying person that you work with, the reserved person, the one that's always has emotion wrapped up into what they're saying. They're just so intense. And there's the person that's always upset, right? So think about that for a minute. That all comes back from us. It all stems from their communication style. How do they communicate their frustrations? How do they communicate their passions? How do they communicate, just simple tasks, and how every bit of what they do to communicate to you and their coworkers. That is one of the greatest attributes that you can learn, that you need to work on, is communication, better communication. Sometimes it's a poorly written email or a text message and it's just read the wrong way, right? Sometimes things are just better said on the phone than through email, because it can be read 10 different ways. But a lot of times it's just communicating back and forth. It's having a certain level of respect with somebody. I don't care if that person's let you down 10 times on the same thing. If you just tear that person a new one, if you put them down, if you tell them they're stupid, you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get anywhere in your career, because that person will probably quit, or you're going to have to fire them. But treating someone less than human is never acceptable. I don't care what they did wrong. You never treat them less than human. So always start with professionalism when it comes to communication. Always be respectful. Even though you think that they know what they did wrong and they know why they did it wrong, never assume that in your conversation. Always say, hey, maybe I didn't write this in a way that we both were on the same page, or maybe I didn't explain it in a way that we're on the same page. But it looks, help me understand why you didn't complete this task, right? You're setting up the framework to have an honest, trusting conversation, and not one of defeat, not one of, I'm being blamed for this. You have to listen. And that's part of communication, is you listen. I've always told my team that, I want you to listen twice before you speak once, which what that means is once someone has told you what's going on, they're explaining something to you, immediately you jump in and say, well, here's why you went wrong. Here's what I see. Here's my perspective. And what I suggest is you ask another question, like, wow, I didn't realize that's how you read that email. I didn't realize that was what you got out of our conversation. Can you explain more? So that's the second ask. Like, tell me more. Let them speak again about it a second time. Let them go into more detail, and then speak, and then offer your feedback, right? So you have to be a good listener, and that is the number one attribute with communication. And it'll get you along. It'll go a long ways. And we can go a long time talking about communication, but I think this is a good place to start. Listen, actively listen, ask questions, don't assume, and never assume the worst. Even if you know it's the worst, don't assume it. Always remain professional and calm. And as you're watching this, definitely send some comments if you've experienced working with a bad communicator, or someone that has give me some examples of someone that stood out poorly on the job. The next attribute that I recommend on how you can stand out on the job is performance. So you can either you could stand out by being a low performer, you can stand out by being an average performer, or you can stand out by being a high performer, right? Which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the high performer? Do you want to be the low performer? Or do you want to be off the radar? I've met plenty of people that just want to be off the radar. They want to coast by and not be on anybody's bad list, but not be on anybody's good list. They're just doing enough to get by. And I've accepted that for some people. I've been fine with that. But my guess is, if you're watching this, you're not someone that likes to coast by. You're a high performer, or you want to be a high performer. And so if you want to stand out on the job, you need to be the best of the best. I'm talking an individual operator, not a supervisor. As an individual operator in any job, in any industry, if you are the best on your team, if you've mastered your craft, that's another great attribute to help you stand out on the job. Because down the road, your supervisor, your bosses, your coworkers are going to come to you for advice. They're going to come to you for help to fix the next problem that no one's been able to figure out, because you are the best. You're the top performer. And it's not that hard to be a top performer. It just takes dedication to your craft. You don't just leave your hat, on the rack at the end of the day when you leave work and don't think about it again. I know it's everybody wants to just disconnect at the end of the day, which is fine. It's good for mental health, but you've got to understand it's when you're mastering a craft, it takes more than an 8 to 10 hour workday. You have to be in it to win it. You've got to just immerse yourself in all of the working knowledge. You got to seek outside training. You got to get online courses. Like, you have to immerse yourself into your craft and be the best of the best, and always know that you don't know it all, right? Never go in cocky thinking because you just took all these courses and now you're doing really well that you all of a sudden you know it all. You don't. You never will. Someone's always trying something new. The market is always changing. The business is always changing. But what you need to do is always be learning, because it will set you apart from your peers. They may think you know it all, but you don't. But you're going to know enough to, when you don't know it, you know where to go to learn how to do it. You know who to ask to learn more. And so you just become that problem solver. And that all stems from a baseline of performance, of being the best of the best, being a master of your craft. So if you want to stand out on the job, be the best, master your craft, and people will look to you for advice and for problem solving. Okay, I want to move on. Another great attribute of how you can stand out on the job: professionalism. That goes without saying, right? Like, Stephen, why do you need to remind me about being professional? We all know we need to be professional, but the truth of the matter is we are human. We have emotions. I try to pretend like I don't, right? I've been accused that I don't have emotions, but you need to always pause for a second when you're upset. Pause when something's not going your way. Like, you've got to take the time to pause and get yourself put together and then respond. It's really easy to lose your professionalism in a very dicey situation, and a lot of people would say, you know what, you were the way you responded was perfectly acceptable. The how upset you were was perfectly acceptable because how wrong you were, someone did you. I've heard that a million times, but there is no baseline of what's acceptable and what's not when you lose your professionalism, when you lose your cool, when you start yelling and cussing and throwing things, when you stop treating a coworker with respect, when you give them the cold shoulder, when you decide to not work things out because you think it's too far. It's like a relationship gone bad, and you decide you're gonna, all the things you did with your ex, ignoring that person, giving them the cold shoulder, being mean to them, like all of a sudden that's going to translate over into the workplace when things are not going your way. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are inclined to behave that way. Maybe it's just a cultural thing, but that's just what we do. And that is not how you stand out on the job in a good way. That's how you stand out in a bad way. And that's how you lose your job. That's how you lose your position. And that's how you lose any chance of upward momentum. You need to be professional at all times. And the best leaders that I have ever worked for in my life, and there's only a few of them, the best ones, I've never seen them lose their cool in a way that they're unprofessional. They're throwing cuss words. They're putting people down. They're talking, poorly behind people's back. Like, the ones that have been upset, they still they keep their composure. They map it out and they literally write it down, like on a piece of paper. Like, okay, why is this a problem? What can I do about it? How do I fix this? Who needs to help me? Like, it's very analytical. It's very task oriented. It's not, oh, someone did me wrong and I'm going to get out and get revenge, right? It's never that way. They may be upset and talk about it, but they do it in a way that's very professional. And that's one of the best tips I could give you here. Keep your cool, be collective, remain professional. Sorry, I got a drink here. All right, moving on. So, assertiveness. How do you stand out on the job? Be assertive. Ask questions. That's the next one after this. Ask follow-up questions. Really insert yourself into the situation, into what's going on. Don't, when your boss gives you a task, don't just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, great, I'll get to it. No, you got to have more to that. Dig into the task. So what are you looking for? What's the end result of this task? What are we trying to accomplish? How long do we want to spend on this task? I notice as I'm inserting myself into all these into this task and all the problems, I see a potential challenge. Let me show you. I love it. I'm sorry, I got to get a piece of gum here. I love it when one of my team members, I give them a task and I think I've given them everything, right? I've given them all the instructions. I've given them the time standards. I've asked if they have any questions, concerns. Everything is good. And then they come back and say, it's not good. Here's what I think you missed, Stephen. Here, what did you think about this? When I'm challenged that way, it helps me grow personally because I didn't cover everything. But more importantly, it shows me that individual is engaged. They're not just taking orders and going to work and ignoring the details. I want people that are assertive, that are going to dig into the details and figure out if what I'm asking them to do is actually going to work, and to figure out if there's a better way. If you would challenge your supervisor in a way, in a positive way like that, if you insert yourself into all the details, they're going to come to you when they have a problem, when they can't figure something out, because they know you have that ability to dig into the details and break it all apart like a puzzle, and find where we can do better, where we can fix this. So insert yourself into the details. The next attribute, being engaged, just 100% just in the zone, engaged with what's going on, who's talking, and you're going to catch on to those details. You're going to be able to come up with those good ideas. And as somebody that hires a lot of people, someone that's promoted a lot of people, I've never promoted someone that wasn't engaged and wasn't assertive. Like, someone that truly is engaged in the process is somebody I want on my team. And every supervisor out there wants somebody on their team that's engaged in the process. All right, now we're going on 16 minutes here, so we'll move a little faster. Ask follow-up questions. So it goes back with assertiveness and engagement. You're going to ask follow-up questions. When someone gives you a task, you're going to ask follow-up questions. And sometimes it's just, hey, so I'm clear, Stephen, you want me to do X, Y, Z, and you need it done by the end of the day. And it's as simple as that, right? But just saying, yep, I'm going to go do it is fine, but it's better when you acknowledge the task, repeat it, and make sure there's nothing left up for interpretation. But a lot of times there's a lot that's left for interpretation. And so you need to ask those follow-up questions. And sometimes it's just a matter of expectations of when do you need it done by, and who can I talk to if I run into any challenges. Next is offering alternative choices to get to the same goal. So when you're working on a task and you know there's a better way to get there, your boss isn't going to have all the ideas. They're just doing what they've learned and what they've been told. And so you on the front line sometimes have the best ideas on how to get the same goal, but in a faster way or a more efficient way, or a way that's just better for morale. Offer those alternative choices on a regular basis, and it's going to help you stand out in a very positive way. So you're going to stand out as a leader. When your coworkers are in a bind, can they count on you? When your boss is in a bind, does he or she count on you? If you want to stand out on the job, you want to be in a position, if you do the above attributes we just discussed, the result of this is these two things right here. Your coworkers will count on you. Your boss will count on you. And that's when, to be quite frank, that's when you get promoted. That's when you're given raises. That's when you're given a lot of opportunities to grow your career. So I just want to wrap things up with, if you want to stand out on the job, be a great communicator, be a top performer, be professional, be assertive, engaged, ask lots of follow-up questions, offer alternative choices to get to the same goal, and be there for your team, be there for your boss, and you will succeed. You will be given opportunities to grow your career. Speaking of careers, if you're looking to make your next career change, your next career move, visit elwoodjobs.com. We have hundreds of openings right now. We hire for the best companies in Northern Utah, and companies that give you that opportunity for growth. There's a reason why I'm highlighting how to stand out on the job today, because there are a lot of our companies that are hiring that are looking to promote from within. They promote Elwood Associates all the time, every single day, into these supervisor positions. So if you take note to what I've discussed today and you put it into practice at any one of the companies that we hire for, you're going to go far. So visit elwoodjobs.com, hundreds of openings, design your own shift. Fresenius Medical Care is a company we're highlighting for the week, one of our clients, premier client in Northern Utah. They just increased their wages. And it's anywhere from $1.50 to $2.75 more than where they were at just a week ago. 12-hour shifts, 3.5 days a week. And then you get 3.5 days off. All departments, all shifts are open right now. Great opportunity. We're really proud of Fresenius for raising their wages to remain competitive in the market and to continue to make a difference on an individual level, helping you, make the money you need to be successful. We still have a few openings at Autoleave. They started this at the beginning, raising their wages, $16 an hour for base, and then the differential brings you up to $17.28 an hour. Very impressive. Great place to start your career. Or to continue your career, to grow your career. we talk about those supervisor openings. There's always some great positions that open up because of their growth. And we've got a lot more openings across the country, across northern Utah. elwoodjobs.com. Navigate through those. Give us a call, even more importantly, and tell us what you're looking for in your career, in your next career move. Walk us through your schedule, your work-life balance that you need, and then we'll match that up with the best opportunity. There might be 2 or 3 that would be a good fit. It's a 9 out of 10, and then you find what's going to be the best fit for you. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Wednesday afternoon.